Hey everyone, we are here to talk about some tips to measure and improve customer experience. This talk is for you if you're looking to find new ways to improve your customer experience or find better ways to measure that. And this is also for you if you're an aspirant and want to become a product manager, you're looking to prepare for product management interviews. And don't worry about taking notes or needing to take screenshots because you'll get all the slides and a bunch of follow-up information. You just scan the QR code and you'll get all the information that you need. So don't worry about needing to take notes. Uh, Now, adding more context, where does this content come from and where do I come from? I run Spark Creative Technologies, where we provide product management consulting and business consultancy services. We provide coaching to PM aspirants to and help aspirants get the product management job that they desire. And from a consulting point of view, we help businesses, startups, small businesses to find ways to tackle growth problems or customer experience challenges. Before this, taking several steps back, I did my electrical engineering undergrad from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Kanpur, and did my MBA from UCLA Anderson School of Management in California. I worked as an engineer at Qualcomm and Broadcom and had product experiences at Cisco, Telescience, Energy Intellution, and most recently, I was a staff product manager at Twilio. Some of my foundational learning experiences were in learning to improve customer experience and finding different ways of measuring customer experience. And those experiences form the basis for today's content. Again, as I mentioned, if you want the slides, if you have any follow-up questions, if you have FAQs, anything else, if you want to look at more articles that that will be relevant to this information, just go to harshalp.com/talk or use the QR code. With that, let's look at what can you take away today. And let's put these takeaways on the timeline of a product lifecycle. Starting from customer research. To do better customer research, we'll talk about an experience which taught me how, by merging product analytics, surveys, and interviews, helped me really understand the customers well. Um, and then we go from there to talking about success metrics. How, apart from output metrics like NPS or revenue, we also can use input metrics and signals to get leading measures of customer experience. Now that we have the metrics and the customer problem, we'll talk about different ways of solving it. So beyond just product features, we can also think about process changes which can eliminate bottlenecks to improve customer experience. And lastly, once you have something you're launching, whether it's a product feature or a process change, we'll talk about how you can boost the success of your launch by using an information checklist. So we'll look at that. And for each of these, we'll first talk about a story or an experience, and then from there, we'll go to a takeaway. First was a time when I was building a KYC registration funnel for customers, where customers provide a bunch of their data so that they can be a verified customer sending traffic through our company. In this case, what I saw when I used the product analytics was that I could see some drop off at each of the step, which you see in the diagram. And that made sense, that's normal. But what was surprising was midway through the funnel, analytics showed a 60% drop off for customers. That was really surprising. So, especially because when I look at the step, it's a very simple step which tells customers, please wait for verification. And after some wait, we tell the customers, your congratulations on you're verified. So that's great, and so on. So now that we had this quantitative data, we knew this issue, we had to form hypothesis for what's the problem so that we can identify it. So we looked at qualitative data from surveys and support requests. And some of the support tickets said that customers are complaining about receiving reminders, although they think they've completed the KYC registration. So customer thinks they have completed the registration. We think they have not. And then we are irritating them by sending reminders. Which part of this is the problem? So to get more empathy and more understanding, we interviewed some customers. And that led us to understand why there was the drop off. That customers thought the step felt so easy that it seemed like the last step. We are also congratulating them. That felt like the last step. Second challenge was that when they saw that they have to wait, sometimes we were not clear on how long they'll have to wait. So they thought we would notify them when the wait is done, and they were often not getting those notifications. So you can see on the right hand side an inverted pyramid where analytics told us there's a 60% drop. So it had a lot of data, quantitative data, but it also required some qualitative data in terms of survey and support, and then a lot more empathy through interviews to figure out that our customers are confused. Now that we knew this, how did we solve for it? So we solved for the wait by notifying customers after the wait time instead of making them wait, and we targeted email reminders for drop-offs. And lastly, these email reminders or notifications were aimed to bring the customers back directly to that step instead of dropping them somewhere else in the web portal. Second problem we solved for was to solve for the sequence of steps. So we merged the earlier and later parts of the funnel so it's more clear that they have to move forward from that point, and also added more of a clearer call to action to help them understand that they have to move forward. We are not going to congratulate them at this point anymore. So this leads me to the takeaway. I understood from my experience that I can understand and measure customer experience in these three ways, and this helped me improve my understanding of customer needs. Quantitative data, which is through product analytics or web analytics, qualitative anecdotes like surveys and customer support data, and then empathy from conversations like interviewing customers. When you do quantitative data, if you look at the pyramid on the side, the inverted pyramid, you get a lots of data, but very little why. From there, you move where the number of data points reduces, but the amount of why or empathy increases. So overall, the collection of all of this helps us know the customer experience. So merging product analytics, surveys, and interviews helps you understand your customers. The next story that we're going to talk about is why the metrics didn't improve. There was a time when there were hundreds of support requests to change billing settings. And so our metric to improve here was that if we can reduce the number of support requests that come from customers to do this change, that will be nice. How can we do that? We built and launched a self-service feature that you see on the right, where customers can come in the web portal, update their payment address, PO number, email, and just save. They are done. Yet, we saw no improvement in the metric, as you can see from the graph below. The number of support requests from customers remained around the same from the time when the product was identified to the product was launched to several months after that, where we still saw no drop. So, how do we know whether this feature is working or not? It's not working as well as we hope, but is there more to the is there a more nuanced explanation here? So, although the support tickets are high, there's also a latency and benefit from launch time. If that's the case, how can we find early indicators? One of my engineers at that point shared the some information with me that we know how many people are using the APIs. So we used that this right-hand side chart, or I created this chart looking at how many people are using the web portal feature and how often is the web portal feature reading or writing to the database. That told me that after the feature launch, there was definitely an increase from zero to a few thousands of reads and writes every week. But how come there's still tickets left? So there are still so many tickets coming out. So that could be because this is addressing the needs for a different segment of customers, and the other customers who used to create tickets are still not aware of this feature. Now, what else can we do to figure out whether this launch is helping us meet customer needs? So, especially if you chart it a longer timeline. So, how often are people looking at the how-to article of this feature? How many times is support redirecting customers to this feature instead of doing the change on the customer's behalf? How many page views are we seeing of the feature in the web portal? And how much API usage and reading, writing the database are we seeing due to this feature? So all of this happens, we'll start seeing changes in these numbers before we saw changes in support reduction tickets, the reduction in support requests. So that's led me to the takeaway that I should also be looking at signals, early indicators, along with metrics. And if you put this on a time continuum of, again, on the product life cycle, output metrics such as revenue or NPS change much later on, whereas input metrics such as launches, the number of blogs that you're putting out, are much more in your control. And then, so if you can identify a bunch of these metrics for your launch and track them, that'll help you know that you're going in the right direction early on. So apart from output metrics, use input metrics and signals to get leading measures of customer experience. The faster you know how your customers are feeling, the faster you can iterate and serve their needs better. So we talked about understanding a customer problem and identifying metrics of success. Now let's talk about process changes apart from product changes. So there was a time when 10,000 customers were angry. You can see an angry email on the side with very like prototype version kind of where customers were emailing somebody that so and so is my query, can you please help? They would not get help, and then they would reach out to support saying that you're not responding to me, I'm angry. So it's turned out that this pattern was pretty common where customers were replying to emails that were sent to them from some email account, but their replies were not being reviewed. So there were 10,000 customer emails unopened. And then this then led to the situation where the customers are angry, although there isn't a bug in the product. They need some help, they're reaching out, but they're not reaching out to the right person. So what do we do? What worked for us is identifying process changes with stakeholders. So the customers reached out to our expectation, which you can see on the left and bottom, was that customers reach out to support. That's the primary channel. For any follow-up questions, anything that the support is not able to answer, they escalate it to an expert team. So the number of requests the expert team would get would be much smaller. However, customers were directly reaching out to the expert team, which we were not aware of, and that resulted in hundreds of 10,000 plus emails being backlogged because the expert team didn't have the bandwidth to tackle that. So what's the process change we did? Although reaching out to the expert team would be nice for the customer, we decided to close off that channel, end of life that channel, which led to an increased volume from customers to customer support and an increased volume from support to expert team. But why was this better for the customer? It would be more likely for them to get a response. They would, in fact, like they would definitely get a response, and they would also get a response in a certain time frame, maybe within a day, maybe within a week. So there's better SLAs for the time response, and the expert team is less overwhelmed with questions coming their way. They also can expect more questions from customer support, but they know that these questions have been vetted by support, so they can spend their time helping support. So that helped me from learn that the takeaway that sometimes there can be bottlenecks, like you see in the hourglass, where the solution for that can be process changes, even if there's no product changes involved. And not only that, sometimes process changes are cheaper than product launches. Not only that, sometimes product launches may also need process changes. Some examples below: internal roadshows, beta support for a new product or support for a beta product, reviewing a metrics dashboard, so setting up some time every week or every day to review a dashboard for a product that you've just launched, building escalation policy, building shortcuts for support to redirect questions from customers, and so on. And that's why I'd say that beyond product features, work on process changes to improve customer experience by eliminating bottlenecks. The last story we'll talk about is a time when the product launch seemed to fail, but I had no idea what happened. This was a time when I launched a product redesign where we removed some features and added some other features and changed the visual look and feel of the product. We thought, well, good product doesn't need documentation, right? So should we don't need anything anymore? Why do we need to inform support? Anyway, there won't be support tickets. This is what we have researched that customers need. So when we asked ourselves, did the launch succeed? We had no idea because we didn't have an idea of the metrics before the launch. So how do we do a before after comparison? So because of this lack of launch hygiene during the startup phase of the company, the software worked, but customers were not aware, and so there was no customer benefit. I would call that a launch failure. And if you see below, that's sort of the chart we used to. I sometimes followed is like if you do the development, You launch it as a publicly available product, even though there might be bugs, even though it might be unreliable, and then with a lot of months of painful back and forth with customers, we would make the software dependable. This didn't work well for customers or the product team. So how to make this successful? Next time, I came across a change by the legal or finance team where they were decided to remove a feature. So this removal of feature would disrupt the customer experience. So I decided to get involved to build a checklist in a way to improve, like minimize the disruption for customers. I did these four things. First, identify which customers will get impacted by looking at the product data, SQL queries, tell which customers are impacted. Then look at how do we share this information from customers? Where will customers care about this? So we added information in emails, in the bills, and in FAQ, but we didn't add it on the web portal because we knew that this kind of information that legal or finance were changing is not something that the customers would think about in the web portal. Third, we worked with the go-to-market team, advance heads up to sales team, so that, especially of large customers, so that they can handle any questions that come from these large customers. Plus, once we do the launch, we share information with all sales team and all customer support. We also provide an escalation policy so that customer support is aware and can reach out to legal, finance, product team for any problems that come. This checklist really helped us minimize the disruption to customer experience. Later on, I also built a gradual release cycle where we went from development and testing to dog fooding. So all our internal employee accounts would have the new features activated. Then we went from to private alpha customers where there's like maybe one or two customers who really care about using the feature even if it's buggy. Then like publicly announcing that anyone who wants to try the feature can try it, and gradually moving from like working with the go-to-market team, support team, in situ announcements to making it publicly dependable solution. And so my takeaway here was that product launches do involve a lot of steps beyond just deploying the code to production. Uh, but also there are way too many small steps. So to set yourself up for success as a product manager and to ensure your launches are successful for your customers' benefit, here are 5 things that you can use to build a checklist. First, identify which customers are interested in this new feature or will be impacted by the change. Second, in situ announcements. In situ means in the place where something is happening. Where will customers think about it? So add information to those particular parts of the product. Like for example, a change information shouldn't be um, on the sales page. It should be maybe related to the pricing page and so on. Go to market team, work with them. How do we sell this change to customers, whether it's a feature or a change? Provide information to sales so that they can share with their customers or answer questions. And support. What will customers ask that we can be ready with prepared answers for? Lastly, announce. How will customers broadly get to know about this? Should we announce this in conferences, host a webinar, do periodic, like add this in the periodic marketing emails we're sending to customers? If so, in which emails, which stakeholders in the customer is this going to, so on. And that's why I'd recommend that you can boost your launch success by using an information checklist. A checklist about all the information that your customers and customer facing teams need. Let's combine all of these to talk about what you can take away today. And to do better customer research, understand customer experience, and measure it, merge the three of product analytics, surveys, and interviews. To do better in terms of measuring success, apart from output metrics, also look at input metrics and signals to get leading measures of customer experience. Beyond building product features, work on process changes to improve your customer experience by eliminating bottlenecks. Lastly, boost the success of the launch of your product or process change by using an information checklist. That's everything we have today. If you have any questions, you can scan the QR code to get the slides, to ask questions, to see follow-up documentation on each of these parts more deep dive. You can also go to harshalp.com/talk. Thank you.